So, as Antti said, I head up ads marketing at Google and YouTube and DoubleClick. So I think about our products and the magic of our products in terms of facilitating marketers to tell their stories. So that's the day job, and that's what I've been doing. My career has been very much in media and marketing throughout, and as a child, I certainly loved and admired advertising, and I think in a very healthy, not geeky way. But the other part of my role is what we call the 20% time. I don't want to bust any myths here, but it's not truly 20% time for some of us. It's probably more like 120. But this is my passion project, and I am also chair of Women at Google. Women at Google is our community group that was originally set up by Sheryl Sandberg when she was with Google, alongside a couple of other very well-known Googlers and ex-Googlers, in a recognition that there weren't that many women at Google, and there was a value in having a community to not only change their lot, but increase the number of women at Google and definitely look at the advancement of them within the organization. That community group of Women at Google has grown on to now be the biggest within our organization. So there are 20,000 members of our group and many chapters around the world. And I'm very honored to be the UK chapter lead of Women at Google, which has evolved from being a community group to one that also uses its power to think about our community outside of Google. And most importantly, our responsibilities and our interests, both our staff and our business, around the role of women and girls and technology and how these things are all coming together. So talking to you today, two big passions. I'm going to talk about advertising and I'm going to talk about women. So in the next 20 minutes, I hope, this is my research, my opinion and my thought, but I hope that we can walk away with a better understanding of the power of communication in really making that difference in changing a story. And I hope most importantly that whether you work in marketing or not, whether you are directly responsible for ad campaigns or communication, that you will see something in the next 20 minutes that might make you think slightly differently about the impact that you individually can have in terms of changing the narrative and gender stereotypes in our world. So, obvious place to start. Think about how many ads are we seeing? Well, apparently, and someone measured this, we are hit with about 5,000 adverts in a day. So, whether they are consciously seen or unconsciously seen, a debate perhaps for another time, we are seen and presented with many, many images. And as I said, as a young girl, I remember being fascinated and loving advertising. I think we're pretty lucky in the UK, having been and visited many different markets, that we live in a country where we have fantastic advertising, brilliant creatives that have often led the global stage in terms of creativity, but we have great storytelling in this market, which makes me think we must have great creative and great bright brains thinking about customers and the insights and really understanding what they do. So why are we getting it so wrong? This incredible bit of research done by the wonderful Rachel Pashley at JWT, where she embarked on a project called the Female Tribes, which was to say, and I'm sure many of you in the room have had this moment in your career, where a brief comes across your table, and it's a mother, 16 to 44, household, and you just want to kind of go, are we here? We're stereotyping, we are generalizing groups of people, and I want to get to something more exciting. So she wanted to challenge this, and she went off and embarked on an incredible journey of surveying women around the world and really trying to show the richness of the differences that we have. But that research also showed some really interesting insights. 43% of women globally feel that their opinion is less valued because they're a woman. 82% of them wanted to see much more inclusion of female achievement in history books. 86% of women globally agreed that femininity was a strength, not a weakness. And 73% said they made the majority of financial decisions in their house. Now, I think as a marketeer or a creative individual, I would take those insights and thoughts about women and think about how I was portraying those people in my adverts. Not just from the business and financial perspective, that these people are controlling purse strings, but how are they connecting to my communication? How am I telling my story? So, Google being Google, we couldn't ever just rest there. So one of the things I've done recently with my team is to say, actually, let's see if we can really understand this. Are we just living in a fog of our own thoughts around this being a real revolution or a problem that we're facing? Or could we get some data to really back up our thoughts around how do women really feel about stereotyping and discrimination? So we used Google consumer surveys, and we surveyed around 5,000 women. This was just done a couple of months ago to get some thoughts around some key points here. Half of the women that we asked felt that in some way, this is a UK survey as well, half of them felt that they'd been discriminated in one form or another. And nearly over a third had experienced discrimination in the workplace. So a very real and a very relevant issue today, perhaps talked about in different ways, but it's here and women are certainly feeling this. Looking a little bit deeper about, well, what's the type of discrimination? You know, where's that stereotyping really living? Well, you know, you've got everything from sexism and gender, but age, thinking about the pay gap and racism. So these things are existing. These are things that people are experiencing, are feeling, and want to be addressed. Most concerning for me when we did this survey was this point, that young women feel that discrimination is getting worse. This was, for me, one of the saddest and kind of hardest points to be, because where we believe we're making huge strides in terms of progress with regard to more women working, better conditions, we're moving towards the closing that pay gap. But yet, a lot of young people feel that discrimination is actually getting worse. Sometimes made worse by social media and the digital tools that we have, sometimes helped by that. So this is actually just from yesterday's marketing week, and I pulled it out, nicely relevant for this talk today, was the fact that actually more and more research is coming out to say, these are consumers, these are real people who are shouting out saying, please, can we stop pushing outdated gender roles at us? And there's a big reason why. This isn't just about business. This isn't just about some things that I care passionately about, either because I'm drawing from my own personal experiences in my life, but this is also, I stand here not just as a marketeer, as someone who works at Google, but I stand here as a mother to boy-girl twins, my own little A/B test in life. I stand here and I think about what I want for them in their future. And I think about my responsibilities to them. And the next video I'm going to show is, for me, one of the reasons why I believe, advertising or not, in terms of your power that you have, everyone has a role to really change the stories that we hear.
This afternoon, we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is a firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary.
Firefighter Star. Firefighter Simon.
He's big and strong.
He's got a big helmet on.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Next, we're going to draw a surgeon.
Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
He's a brain surgeon.
I think he would wear a stethoscope. He gives you medicine.
That's his ambulance.
Okay, next, we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane.
He rescues people.
He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
Okay, now who would like to meet these people for real?
Yeah! They're dressed up.
My name's Tamsin and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy. I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade.
So who wants to know how to do an operation?
Who's putting it on? Everyone
Try my
put it on.
stethoscope.
We put this in here.
What does it look like?
There you go. Now you're a proper fighter pilot.
So into your ears. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's really good. It's much better, yeah, it's much better than my kids' one.
So an amazing video that I think tells that story brilliantly. But for me, gender stereotypes are set in children between the ages of 5 and 7. So irrespective of the things that as good, willing parents, we're trying to protect them from those stereotypes, those opinions are changing. And I found this firsthand. So as a parent who had one set of toys, girl or boy, didn't matter. It was one set of toys for boy-girl twins. Very positive, I would hope, parenting in terms of the way that we displayed roles and shown them different things. They had already started to categorise jobs. And when we looked a little bit deeper as to why that was doing, so I've done some work with the Gina Davis Institute around actually filmmaking and documentaries. At Google, we have a program where we work with filmmakers and content producers to really try and readdress the way that women are portrayed in film and media. But when I thought about this, actually, there is not enough being done in advertising. There's no Bechdel test for advertising. The Bechdel test is one that is used in film to look at how many times, well, first of all, how many minutes in before a woman speaks, and actually, is that conversation with another woman, and is it about anything other than about a man? And the percentages are tiny when you look at filmmaking. But when you look at advertising, and this is what our children are looking and seeing, how many times parents in the room may have this experience where their child has been singing the Sill It Bang advert or something else rather irresponsibly they may have seen somewhere. But they take these resources in print and in film and in video that they see, and they are forming images. So how has advertising changed over time? Has it moved on at all? We've made so much progress elsewhere. I put lots of ads in here that I just personally liked. I'm not going to play them all because I am going to be short of time. But this one, I'm going to play just because it's 30 seconds and it will take us back to a point where life isn't like this.
When you really need to feel secure, you need Bodyform Plus. The specially designed wings lock the towel firmly and securely in place, so you don't have to worry, leaving you the freedom to live life to the full. Bodyform Plus, body formed for you.
Who remembers that ad? Who sang along with the ad? We all know it was a catchy jingle. So I remember as a young woman seeing this ad and thinking, oh, I like the music. That's so not what life is like. As any woman will know, it's not glamorous. There's no reality, and there's definitely no fun that happens there. Research conducted, this is just very recently, research conducted by Unilever over the last few years, so that 40% of women, they don't recognise themselves in ads. I don't see ads that I can relate to, whether it was when I was younger or even now. And in an analysis of that, actually, 50% of ads showed a negative or not progressive stereotype of women. And the worst thing was only 3% showed clever or funny women, because there aren't that many of them out there. It was actually, I was at an event last night where I had the pleasure of seeing Kate Adie speak, and she was retelling a story around how we should remind ourselves it wasn't that many years ago where in Parliament they discussed the fact that women shouldn't really vote and they shouldn't really go out to work because it oils their brains. They actually felt medically that we would combust if we did anything else. So we've made some progress, but not enough when we're looking at the role of advertising, the way we're telling our stories. I'm going to skip past this one, but has everyone, let me see how many people have ever seen this ad. And it was an ad made on a shoestring. I was at Cara, part of Dentsu, when this was made. I remember vividly the story of the Facebook post coming in. So not enough people have seen it, so I am going to play it because it's worth seeing.
Hello, Richard. I'm Caroline Williams, the CEO of Bodyform. We read your Facebook post with interest, but also a sense of foreboding, and I think it's time we came clean. We lied to you, Richard, and I want to say sorry. Sorry. What you've seen in our advertisements so far isn't a factual representation of events. You're right. The flagrant use of visualization such as skydiving, rollerblading and mountain biking, you forgot horse riding, Richard, are actually metaphors. They're not real. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but there's no such thing as a happy period. The reality is, some people simply can't handle the truth. In the past, we've tried to be more honest in our approach. In the 1980s, we ran a series of focus groups to help us gauge the public's reaction to periods. The cramps, the mood swings, the insatiable hunger. And yes, Richard, the blood coursing from our uteri like a crimson landslide. So, we knew we'd have to change our strategy. And so, from that day to this, we have managed to maintain this illusion. But you, Richard, have torn down that veil and exposed this myth, thereby exposing every man to a reality we hoped they would never have to face. You did that, Richard. You. Well done. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us. Oh, sorry, Richard. You did know that we do that too.
So just a very quick one on the back of that story. So that is a genuine email that came in from a chap called Richard, who poured his heart out of saying that his girlfriend was nothing like that was portrayed in the body form ad of women jumping out of planes, and was complaining to them for the truth. The 3 girls on the social media team at Caro who picked up this email and said, please can we respond honestly, and had a brave client who agreed to be part of this, created that and put it out in a very quick space of time, and it's proven to be one of the most successful ads that they've ever done. Truth is great, and so does humour. So femvertising. I'm not sure I love this term, but it's a term. It's not in the Oxford English Dictionary, but its official meaning is that advertising that employs pro-female talent, messages and imagery to empower women and girls. There has been a femvertising revolution and movement. The majority of adults are familiar with femvertising, women more so than men, certainly those that the advertising obviously being targeted at. There are a few key brands that are really, really standing out in here who are doing great work. Things like Nike and Dove are perhaps some of the more obvious ones. But also, I mean, I love the work that Sport England had done, which I'm sure many of you have seen and very celebrated. I'm going to skip past that one to get... And it's not just video. You know, we're challenging photos as well. Sheryl Sandberg's initiative around Getty Images and Lean In has been part of this movement to say, can we change the way that women are portrayed? How many times do you see stock imagery that just is inappropriate, is not reflective of real life? So my favourite ad, for many reasons. Have many of you seen this Barbie ad? No. Right, well, we're going to have to see it.
Hello, my name is Gwendid, and I'll be your professor today. And I will be talking about the brain.
Hi.
Hello, I'm your veterinarian today.
You're kidding.
Nope, I'm Dr. Brooklyn. See?
Okay, doctor.
Oh, here, let me see. Good morning, everyone. I'm your new coach. My name is Maddie. Nice to meet you. I had the most fantastic day in the office. You'll never believe what happened. We got that new business I wanted. Have you ever seen him fly?
Have you seen him what?
Fly?
No.
My cat can fly.
Okay.
The dog's brain can't think as much as the human's brain because there's no high school for the dog. This is Peter, the Triceratops. Peter is 1 year old. The T-Rex, Sally, is 1,002,252 years old. Knees up like a unicorn. Higher, higher. I've been to New York, Transylvania, Pennsylvania. We can think and do lots of stuff with our brain. Now, does anybody know how big the brain is? Anybody? Sophia. It is medium. Medium? Very good.
So I love that ad for many reasons, partly because it reminds me of my daughter playing with my daughter and my son playing with Barbie, but actually it most reminds me of me when I was a little girl, before I had taken no interest of the pink packaging and things around me. I played with that because that's how I believed life was at 5 years of age. So if only Mattel had come out and really asked, how do little girls play? So is this making a difference? Is it working? Yes, we're seeing great penetration. Women are responding strongly in terms of the ads they see. We're buying more products. We're sharing more of these commercials. And we really are saying that we want brands to be more accountable to their messages. The numbers tell for themselves. This is key. You know, there is a business element to this change here. And no surprise, if you tell great stories to people who really understand them, they will react and respond in a way. One of my greatest ones was Mattel shares had jumped after most recently, where Barbie sales growth had been 23% on the back of that campaign. That's a phenomenal success on a business that was actually going in the opposite direction. So it is getting a little repetitive. We have to be careful, because my worry is that yes, we're showing the extremes and we're showing the norms, but what about the girls that can, and what about the ones who are already playing differently? They're perhaps being missed in the stories today. And we have to be careful that These things are starting to look similar. It's becoming a little bit formulaic. Are we challenging ourselves again? Are we really making sure we understand our customers and their insights and what people are really doing? We need to make sure we avoid this fatigue, because sometimes I worry that people say job done. It's not job done, it's a job continuing, and one that needs to evolve. So my plea to you today, and I'm pretty much out of time here, is to break the mold, is to say there is a way to rethink this. There is a role we play, be it through advertising communication, be it through our everyday lives. The video I showed earlier about the women going into the classroom is an initiative that I've partnered with at Women at Google to get everyone, all walks of life, to go out and speak to children, but particularly women, all different types of women, to go out and talk to kids and help change those stereotypes. As marketeers, as creatives, as communicators, we have a big, big role to play here. Please try and have a look at this Cheerios ad when you get a chance. A bit of manvertising and dads can do. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't leaving the chaps out of this conversation. Storytelling is not limited to 30 seconds. Most of the things I've shown here and the ones that have been most successful have been way past that. We've seen a huge growth in this content in YouTube. And not just by my brands, new age of influencers who have the power of the public behind them are telling the stories that people want to hear. And these creators are delivering messages for good and will continue to amplify them. So, my plea to you and your role here is to use your power and imagination and creativity. Don't be bound by stereotypes. We can be the change we want to see. We want to break and define those new barriers. Thank you very much.